Okay, if you're going to be running ads for your e-com, service-based business, or clothing brand, this is one campaign you need to know. It doesn't matter what you are running your business for. So right here, top of funnel cold campaign, that's what it is. We'll talk about why it's effective, kind of what makes it broad, and what the strategy actually is, and how to make it effective in your scenario. So we'll kind of go over some terminology here. Top of funnel cold campaign. Top of funnel really is a stage or a status of customer nurturing. So you have like top of funnel, middle funnel, and bottom of funnel and stuff. This is more top of funnel things. And then the cold is the type of audience they are, what type of audience they are. So think of it as like a warm lead or a cold lead. Cold lead would kind of be like calling a random dealership. A warm lead would be like, maybe they scheduled an appointment or things like that. And then campaign, a collection of ad sets, each with its own goal. Now, before you actually start running a CCVB, you need to have 3 checks. So the first one is that you need to have market research backed creatives. What I mean is that you need to know why and how your creatives are going to succeed, whether it's by looking at competitors or knowing that you have really good skills or the right call to action. You need to have good creatives. If you don't, then they're not going to succeed. Creatives are really the heavy lifting of marketing. If you have, it doesn't matter all this, interest targeting, doesn't matter location targeting, nothing. It doesn't matter if your creatives suck balls. Now, check number 2 is going to be an optimized website. Without this, you are in fact wasting money. If your website loads slowly, if it's really confusing, if there's a lot of friction for the customer to, look at the website, browse, and buy, you're bleeding conversions. You're not going to get money, or at least you're going to be losing a lot of money. So check number 3 is going to be understanding the timeline of testing. So this is it goes hand in hand with market research. You don't really want to copy ads that have been running under 30 days because within that 30-day period is still kind of like a testing period. But really, whenever you are testing, you mainly want to turn stuff off after 7 days. I can make another video about this, but really, you just need to know, okay, after it gets this amount of spend, I'm going to turn this off. After it gets this amount of spend, I'm going to incorporate this, things like that. Now, once you have those 3 checks down, then you are ready to see results from your campaign. So let's talk about how to set one up. And I can actually go into the Meta Ads Manager if you guys want, just let me know. So obviously first it's going to be to go into the actual ad account or the Meta Business page account, whatever you want to call it. Obviously whether it's for a client or you. Create a campaign. Then you want to click sales and choose manual sales campaign. So you'll obviously see Advantage Plus, and this is kind of meta as AI. If you were to run this, you need a hefty amount of budget, and you also need a hefty amount of pixel data. I want to be honest here, don't use Advantage Plus. There's not really any need for it. So then create a campaign. You can name it whatever helps you stay organized. And by default, everything should be blank when you're in the campaign level. So just turn everything off. Now, once you go into the ad set level, you can obviously name it whatever you'd like again to keep it organized. And then you want to talk about conversion and performance score right here. You want to send it to your website or website and shop. You can kind of test those things. And then do it for max conversions. And then you want to connect the pixel. It should say conversions API with a green check on it, if you've done it right. And then dynamic creative, just off. It just kind of adjusts the content based on audience's interest. And then budget. Now, this is going to be an ad budget optimization, so you're putting the spend in the ad set level instead of the campaign level. Now, typically, you shouldn't really want to go below 20. If you cannot spend 20 a day, don't even bother testing, honestly. But for this, you can do 20 to 30. I would say that's the bare minimum for testing. So, $750 to $1,000 per month is a sweet spot for testing. I would say sweet spot because obviously if you were to invest more money, that means that you are able to accelerate the progress of results. But this is kind of the threshold you want to pass or meet if you want to start running ads. Honestly, don't even think about if you have the budget for scaling in the future. Because if you are scaling, you're obviously making money. And once you see it's making money, it's going to be very hard to say, I don't want to scale. Now, and then the rest, obviously you want to create or use an existing post. Most of the time, if you are someone who doesn't really have good creatives or footage or whatnot, you can create and go into maybe Canva or Photoshop and make something. Now, audience, keep that blank. That's exactly what makes it a cold conversion. You're not doing any sort of targeting. Your audience is supposed to be as broad as possible. So if you're a service-based business, you want to do it maybe within, depending how far a client or you is willing to travel, that's how long you, or that's the range you want. If you are a clothing brand, keep it blank. If you're an e-commerce space, keep it absolutely blank. The only way you would ever want to mess with the audience for a cold conversion is if you're like really niche down, or maybe if you own a emo scene punk kind of clothing brand. Obviously no one above 65 is going to buy that. Then you can kind of mess with the audience. So now we're going to talk about monitoring, what you want to do after you actually publish this. So you want to check twice a day. Twice a day is perfectly okay. And you obviously want to scale when necessary. And you also want to make sure not to scale quickly as well. If you were to scale too quickly and put a lot of budget, you would basically be telling AI's like algorithm to basically reset. Like it's really weird. Meta is absolutely buggy. You also want to be able to correctly judge when to turn it off or scale once it has some spend. So some things I can say about monitoring is just consistently check twice a day. If you see it's doing good, don't increase the budget by a lot. You want to slowly and incrementally increase its budget. So that's basically it. That's a cold conversions, very broad campaign. I hope this helped. If you guys want me to actually go into Meta Ads Manager and like set up a campaign, let me know. I can do that. But I just kind of want to give away a little bit of some free game. Here editing this video, and I forgot to mention in the actual video itself, but if you want to skip the hassle of guesswork and expedite results, I do have a link in my bio where you can apply to see if your brand is qualified to work with me.